Mr. Mananathan? Yeah, there you have. No. Hello. Good. Leon, let's give a minute for Mr. Mehta to join. He should be here any moment.
All right.
Dr. Mehta, the other Mr. Mehta, will join by 12 o'clock.
We are live now.
Yeah, we are live right now, right? Good.
Yes.
So I think we can start with proceedings. Let us have the opening slide at the AV.
Ini saya ingin memberikan gambaran atau bagaimana sih tantangan.
And be prepared for the next major exhibition.
saya ingin memberikan gambaran atau bagaimana sih tantangan
and be prepared for the next major exhibitor.
Hi. Leon, is it my cue? Yeah, perfect. So here we are. Wish you a very good morning, good afternoon from all parts of the world. I mean, we have colleagues from Belgium forum. It's really early morning. It's 7:15, 7:30, I guess, 4.5 hours now. And we have colleagues on the other hand from Indonesia who are past the lunchtime now. So it's both a small world and a very large world. And that is thanks to Busworld that we're able to make this journey together, all of us. So it's not my job to speak too much right now. I have better speakers coming up after this. I am Sridhar. I'm ambassador of Busworld to India. And just to give you a small background, saw some very exciting videos now when it came to displaying to you what Busworld Southeast Asia has been able to achieve over the past few editions. It's a very vibrant place, it's an exciting place, and that is because Indonesia itself is an exciting bus industry. So what we are doing in the build-up to the webinar, which is going to happen between May 15 to 17, 2024, is to give you all an opportunity to exchange knowledge. So we have Indonesians and Indians with a Belgian team in the background, trying to understand how can we profit from collaboration together. I mean, sure, the opportunities are excellent, but as always, we have to be mindful of detail. We have to be mindful of how and where should we proceed and what should we do forward, right? So with that in mind, this webinar, which is the second of 3 webinars we're organizing, has an excellent panel, which comprises of eminent Indian automotive suppliers and also an Indonesian expert with us. And so we will go through a panel discussion, which will be for an hour, 50 minutes for the panelists to speak. They make their opening remarks and we get to ask them a few questions. And I will then turn to the audience for your perspectives, for your questions, which you can type on chat. And do not worry, you don't have to note down everything. We will make all presentations and the video of this session available on the website, which we will share the link to. But before we go to the panelists, I think it is very important that we listen to 2 people who are very, very important behind the scenes. First, if you can change the slide, please, Leo. The first is Mr. Baki Lee, who's director of GEM Indonesia. Mr. Baki Lee and his organization are part of a very vibrant company that organizes trade shows and brings people together. So let us hear from him in terms of what has happened over the last editions of Busworld Southeast Asia and what can we expect going forward, and why he so clearly welcomes Indian suppliers to come to Indonesia and participate in the market. Please go ahead, Mr. Makili.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Sridhar. Good morning for my friend in Belgium. and good afternoon, good noon for the our speaker and panelists from the Indian company, and good afternoon for all Indonesia's audience here. Okay, I'm Bakji Lee. I'm from the GM Indonesia, the partner for the Busworld Southeast Asia based in Indonesia. We understand a few years ago, the second editions for the Busworld 2022 is under pandemic situation. So the effect, the result is still limited because of the situation of the pandemic. But during the exhibition, we got a very good response from the exhibitor, from the visitor. For the Busworld, is one of the gateway for the international players, and enter to the market, to the Indonesia, to the South Asia, and to around the world. So this is one of the gateway for any suppliers to involve the market for those countries. So in Busworld 2022, we got a lot of the response from the exhibitor, from the visitor, and all of them say, yes, this is one of the events that we want to join. So more of the exhibitors for the last exhibitor coming again to the Busworld South Asia in 2024 later. Then this year, we understand Indian company, especially for Indian company, is quite a few number of the players are involved the automotive industry, especially for the bus industry. So I think there is one of the bridge, one of the good way, and one of the good opportunity for Indian company to involve, to find a win-win solution, to partnership with the bus industry in Indonesia. So on the Busworld, you will get a lot of the bus player, top 10 bus player will be come to the show every times of the Busworld Southeast Asia. So this is one of the good opportunity for the Indian company, or Indian supplier, or Indian OEM want to participate in the win-win partnership in Indonesian's bus industry. So today, Mr. Purwanto also will try to explore, try to introduce how is to involve to this industry. So Mr. Sridhar and all the audience here, I hope you all can enjoy for this webinar. This is a good opportunity, and you have to join, you have to know about how Indonesia's market right now, especially for the bus. And I got information from the chairman of the bus carousel industry. More of the bus bodybuilder is under very good condition. And many of the bus bodybuilder are very busy right now. And the operator must be wait about 6 months or until 1 year to get the new buses right now, because a lot of the inquiry from the bus operator to request the new buses. And this is reason why, because we have a very good infrastructure now, new infrastructure, new toll, about more than 10,000, more than 4,000 new kilometers, 5,000 kilometer new toll right now is ready. We have a Trans-Java, Trans-Sumatra, and almost ready now. If the Trans-Sumatra is ready, the number of the bus will be increased significant again. So this is a good opportunity. This is a good right time for any supplier from which country who want to become the partnership with the bus industry in Indonesia, and also for the Southeast Asia. Thank you. I hope you all enjoy now.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. That's a strong vote of confidence. I mean, if I summarize your key message, what you're saying here is that it is an exciting marketplace and Indian companies have the opportunity to make their own play, because in the past, we've had Indian companies making progress, but steady progress. Now is the time to accelerate efforts and move faster to grab opportunities in Indonesia.
Right.
Yeah, thank you so much. And next, can we have Vincent's slide, please? Vincent is actually one of the most key people at Busworld. He is important for extending Busworld across global markets. An extremely passionate person who I happen to know very well in terms of how to develop new markets, how to grow the bus industry. And he has excellent ideas in terms of how this can be done. So Vincent, you heard Mr. Baki Lee speak, and you attended the first webinar. Maybe you can share thoughts on...
He did not attend the first webinar.
He did. He was part of the first webinar. Yes, he was.
Yes.
He was.
Good morning,
No,
everyone. Good morning. Thank you for being here in this webinar, second webinar, concentrating on imports or import of suppliers from the Indian continent to Indonesia. Why we have this webinar or this second webinar, we will have a third. It's to explain to the people how and in a practical way we can link Indian suppliers to the Indonesian market. The Indonesian market is a big market in full transition with big challenges ahead. Jakarta will be replaced to a new place because of flood and water problems.
Dat is motiverend om daar in te gaan.
The government of Indonesia is now busy with a complete restructuring of the new city, and they are concentrating on the fact that electrification of the fleet is a must. So there is a big opportunity for the bus builders in Indonesia to produce the electrical buses, and they need supplies from all over the world, India as possible, to produce their buses and to make them ready for that new challenge. So in the next exhibition in 2024, we will have more feedback regarding this matter, and I think it's a good opportunity for Indian suppliers to send supplies and to have contacts with Indian bus builders in Indonesian bus builders in Indonesia. That's the aim of this webinar. So I would be very happy that after this webinar, people will really know how to import goods into Indonesia and how to start up business. Thank you very much and enjoy.
Thank you very much, Vincent. I know that you've not been so well of late, and it's very good that you could spare the time. It's, the key message that Vincent shared here is that Indonesia is at the cusp of something exciting. There's a new capital coming up, and it's going to be a green capital with completely new generation public transport. And as per my information, $70 billion are going to be invested in building road infrastructure. I mean, these are two very good facts to take note of for any potential Indian supplier wanting to venture into Indonesia. So yeah, having heard from these two very important gentlemen who are involved in organizing the exhibition, let us go to Mr. Purianto. Can we have a slide, please? Yeah. So Mr. Purianto is a very multifaceted personality in the Indonesian bus industry. I mean, Askarindo, for those who may not know and who may not understand the meaning of carrosserie, is basically the Bodybuilder Association of Indonesia. In Indonesia, bodybuilders have a strong presence. Mr. Purianto represents this organization. Apart from that, he is also general manager of PT Mobil Anak Bangsa, which is an EV company. He is also a member of Periklindo EV Manufacturers Association. So, you know, when we approached Mr. Purianto, we went to him with the same request that Vincent just mentioned, that it is great to hear positive messages. It is great to know that Indonesia is doing good. But a lot of people, including our panelists, when we had a preparatory session, had a question. Yes, it is very good. It seems attractive. It's not very far from India. But what are the practical ways in which Indian companies can do business in Indonesia? What is the import structure like? How can you form a joint venture? What are the various government procedures in place? So Mr. Purianto was very patient with us. He sat down, he understood our requirements, and he has created what I believe is an excellent presentation. So for those members in the audience, you may want to make a few notes. Of course, we'll share the presentation, but this is like a guide on how to enter the Indonesian market. So it's all yours, Mr. Purianto.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sridhar, for the time. Introducing that my name Purianto and from Askarindo, Indonesia. Yeah, good morning from European participant. Also, good afternoon for everyone. Let me share some slides related to Indonesia bus importation, homologation, and business opportunity for Indian company and others company also, which welcome for investment in Indonesia. Yeah, this is of course due to the time is limited. It will be not so detailed. I will explain related to free trade area or free trade agreement. This is a landscape of the free trade agreement between ASEAN, India, ASEAN, China, ASEAN, Korea. There are 10 countries, and the manufacturer should optimize the tariff related to ASEAN-India free trade agreement. So basically, for the bus which have local content or original content from the India more than 40%, the CBU bus will be 5% import duty, up to 24 tons of gross vehicle weight, and CKD will be 0%. This is a good chance also for a certain customer. But on the other hand, the Indonesian government also asks related to local content of the Indonesian to join the government tender. However, brand-to-brand complementation or branch-to-branch complementation will be more effective for Indian company to choose one of the country to be industrial base. Yes, this is the structure of the company. At the upper side, we call principal or the manufacturer origin country. They can export CBU, SKD, or CKD. Actually, the SKD, there is no tariff. The tariff only CKD and CBU. Then the importer in Indonesia, if there is an industrial company, foreign direct investment, the share up to 100%. But trading company from foreign direct investment only 33%. However, the new company, new investor or new player should make a joint venture with a local company for trading. But for industrial, both from the spare part or component maker up to car maker, this permissible up to 100%. Of course, they should hold the industrial permit. This is an important number for manufacturer. And then local VIN permit to industrial department. Also NID means the company identity number. So they also have to get the ID tax number for Indonesian. This is a very basic, yeah, very basic. Most of the Indonesian player, the structure is industrial company, then trading company. They open the brands, also appointed dealers, then also set up direct sales. This is government sales or fleet sales. This is the basic of the structure of the company in Indonesia. Next, related to the business scheme, there are manufacturer. This is the importer of the CKD and CBU and possess the local VIN number. Then they make cooperation with distributor or appointed other company or establishing new company will be no problem. In some cases, from the manufacturer can direct distribute the product to the dealer. So there is no distributor. So the manufacturer can also get permit of the wholesales, but cannot retail sales. Wholesales only from the manufacturer to dealers. Then dealers make retail sales. Right now, some of the companies also promote through marketplace for motorcycle, electric motorcycle. It is very familiar for the customer to buy a motorcycle or electric motorcycle through marketplace, including the rental. In Indonesia, most of the customer buy the vehicle supporting by leasing company. So this is one of the key success factor establishing the leasing company in Indonesia, whether foreign direct investment or joint venture with Indonesian leasing company to support the end user multi-finance of the purchasing the bus. Whether they are a bus operator or rental company, they should, most of them prefer using a leasing company. Of course, because of the leasing company need insurance, so the insurance company also have a multiplier effect related to this business. As you know that the main activities of the car manufacturer, there are manufacturing, distribution, importer, preparing the stockyard or part storage, And then supporting activities will be leasing company, rental company, after-sales service, insurance, accessories, also logistic company. Logistics are very important to minimize the production cost. Next step, this is the homologation of the vehicle in Indonesia. If the company will manufacture in Indonesia, that's mean import as CKD or IKD. CKD or IKD. So to get import permit of the CKD or IKD, the company should register the brand in Indonesia, although the original brand already registered in the world or in his own country, but Department Law and Human Rights in Indonesia have an authority to register and to check whether there is a duplication or not, and already registered by other parties or not. Then the company should register the brand at Department of Law. Then preparing the assembly line or manufacturing, they will apply VIN. VIN as a 17 digit, there is a Indonesian VIN code starting from M as a Indonesian code of the manufacturing. After getting the VIN, company importer can apply the import permit. Yeah. After that, they prepare the sample unit and to do the type approval at transport department at the laboratory of type approval in Bekasi. So the type approval, basically most of them follow European standard. Most of them follow European standard or ECE. In case the product is electric vehicle or electric bus vehicle, the company should submit the battery certificate standard of IEC or EEC standard. There is a 9-item of test and electric motor certification to convince the torques, the type of the motors, also the power of the motors, certified by laboratory which comply or approved by European standard. Yes, those certificates can be done at any country related to the certification body. After getting the certificate of the type approval, then they should register about the first transfer of the ownership to internal affairs department. There is to register how much the price of the vehicle. Basically, there is a 75% decided by the whole price. 75% from the whole price to be decided by government officer. The next step, bring the certification with type approval to national police registration to register the type, the brand, also to verify whether this certification is already complete or not. Then the certificate will be bring to local police department for first ownership or first transfer registration. In this case, the company also should preparing the NIK certificate or VIN certificate of the local PIN number. Then they can start to sales for national in Indonesia. this is also same case that for commercial vehicle, actually there is additional of the body permit commercial vehicle and body design permit commercial vehicle. That's mean each body builder should register the design, layout, also variant of the vehicle to transport department to get the certificate, then can be registered to police department. Basically, in Indonesia, there is two type of approval. One is bare chassis or rolling chassis certification. Number two is complete bus body certification. In case of complete bus body certification, there is no need body design permit. So because this complete bus, but in the next production should only follow the type approval with complete bus design or type. The next, this is a CBU import. In case of the company will import from India or from European or from other countries as a CBU bus, the sample unit should get a permit and register at industrial department, then to do the type approval as CKD. They should also submitted the battery lithium and electric motor certificate. After both certificate hold by the importer, then they can apply the CBU import permit. This based on the quota, and industrial department will consider about the balance of trade between countries, how much they will permit it to import as CBU1. So this is the weakness is quota not always be approved 100% as importer request. Others is same. Other stuff is same, except the Form A. This is like a VIN certificate original from the origin country, then to be verified at the National Police Department, then can be registered to get the license plate for initial. This is a sample of the main component certification for EV bus. Like this is from China National Accreditation Standard. This is from European IDIADA. This is also from European certificate. So accreditation standard or certification can comply the IEC, ISO, APA, ILAC, GNAS, VCA, IDIADA, and so on. Then in Indonesia, there is a SNI and CAN. Indonesia, standard of the charging port adopt the CCS2 and CHAdeMO, but GBT in the closed area not be from. This is also permissible. Of course, they should responsible by himself, by the company itself, in case to be used a GBT charging port standard. For example, there is one of the big company in closed area. They prefer GBT because of comply to the product of the bus. Then number two, the operation bus is in the closed area, so they can use they can buy the GBT charging port standard. But for national, most of them use the CCS2. CHAdeMO to be standard because most of the plug-in hybrid produced by Japanese car, so CHAdeMO also to be standardized as a charging port in Indonesia. Related patent document from the principal or from the origin country, like original brochure, detailed technical specification, every type, copy of the homologation test from principal or origin country for every type, copy certificate of battery lithium on electric motor, breakdown VIN numbering system, 17 digit, every brand and every country different. Then price statement letter, warranty letter of the after sales service, letter of bank reference, workshop certification from Sukovindo for CBU importation. But for CKD or on manufacturer Indonesia, there is no need number 9. This is Sukovindo is a workshop certification body which appointed by industrial department in Indonesia. This is just a sample of the master time schedule of the homologation from the local VIN application, CKD, IKD importation permit, industrial department, CKD initial import, sample assembly, trial, internal, then number 4, type approval through VTA online transport department, then initial shoot after type approval. This is 100% registration at transport department. Then number 6, internal affair registration of the ownership. We call NGKB, mean the price of the vehicle. As I said before, that it is about 75% of the whole sales price. Then number 7, specimen registration at national police. Then initial license plate application. This normally will take about 4 or 5 months to get initial license plate registration for first ownership of the vehicle. Yes, this is the cluster of the automotive component in Indonesia. There are about 250 companies is first tiers, and car manufacturer will be 20 brands, and second tiers will be 550 companies in Indonesia. So, but most of the company related to Japanese affiliate company. However, it is not easy to get OEM part from the affiliate company of the Japan. So that right now some of the company preparing the general vendors which can supply, which can be used for other brands, not only from Japan, but also from Korea, from China, or from European. So in this case, if Indian OEM manufacturer have an association in your country, it can be discussed by your colleagues, and it will be more advantage if you sell to one of the brand, use global or supply chains components, then you will get a volume of the production, volume of the component. Yes, not only dealing for Indonesian market, but dealing for Thailand market, dealing for Australian market. I think this is a very advantage for component makers. One of the sample Wuling from China, they bring their component makers to set up new company in Cikarang, Bekasi, at the same area. So the transportation and logistics system will be reduced much, comparing to get the component from different cities. So they have one industrial area which can be utilized by car maker and component makers. So in this case, for example, from India, Tata will entry Indonesia, Tata Bus or maybe other brand, then should also doing the same case will be more interesting and more advanced. This is a member of the directory of the component makers. It is, yeah, I have a list of the component makers in Indonesia. So this is many vendors makers which registers as list of GIAM. GIAM means this is a combination of the automotive manufacturing component association. Yeah, there are many associations, including profile of the company, address, investment, then the capacity. This are complete. Okay. I should return. Yeah. Sorry. This cannot be written. Control escape.
You have an issue with the slideshow, Mr. Purianto?
This is I will return to the slide presentation, but the escape is. Can you share the slide?
Can you change the slide, Leo, if you can, if he's not able to do it? Yeah.
Hold on.
I stop slide.
What page
Okay, I
is
stop.
that? Halaman berapa
This
itu, Pak?
one. Okay, this one. The next. Okay. This is the structure of the motorcycle component made by GM members. So in case electric scooter from India also will enter Indonesia, there is many local vendor which also ready to supply to the principal. The red line is this is ICE only, but the others this is ready to supply for electric scooters. So in Indonesia right now for electric scooter already register about 40 brand for electric scooter. Yes, BEV component need this one. From the BLDC or permanent magnet synchronous, then hard drive motor,
yeah,
controllers, then battery pack. Actually, Indonesia state-owned company preparing the battery cell manufacturing from the smelter, precursor, cathode, anode, then battery cell manufacture up to battery pack. This hopefully will finish and supply ready 2025. This for battery pack. But right now, from LGCM and Hyundai also already preparing manufacture in Karawang. There is a battery cell manufacture, but yeah, for Hyundai only used for Hyundai and Kia only. But electric motor, there is not available for big company, but for big capacity, but for electric motorcycle already available. Yeah, this is a list of SNI. SNI is a Indonesian national standard. So in case the importer of the component like tire, wheels, up to 20-inch wheel rims, they should hold SNI certificate with issue by industrial department, like glasses or laminated or tempered glass. If import as a component with spirit import, then use harmonized system code number spiritly, they should hold the certificate national Indonesia. Others component like control cable, brake, and then car carpet, leak acid battery, they should hold the SNI issued by industrial department. But if the importer or the manufacturer import as a whole vehicle, no need SNI certificate. This is only for a component importer. Component then sales to aftermarket or supply to car manufacturer by this criteria. How about the automotive tax and company tax in Indonesia? Yes, the import tax in Indonesia, CBU normally 5 to 50%. This is MFN, mean most favorable nation. This depend on the type of the vehicle. But for bus, as I said before, CBU bus from India, if provided by COO, certificate of origin, the tax will be, import tax will be 5%. Although the import tax 5%, please also consider about the logistic cost. Why? Use RoRo, the transportation cost is very expensive. Maybe one bus 12 meter will be 7,000 or 6,500 US dollar. But for CKD, then only 0% import tax. Then the assembly cost for one bus, I think cheaper than logistic cost of the transportation. This is we should consider this one. Then income tax for import will be 2.5 up to 10%. For CBU will be 7.5%, but CKD 2.5%. So this is also different 5%. Reduce the production cost. How about the luxury cost? Luxury tax related to EV is 0%. Then VAT 11%. But if you produce the vehicle in Indonesia up to more than 40%, the VAT become 1%. So reduce again 10% of the VAT for electric vehicle. How about the automotive registration tax or transfer for the first ownership? Transfer ownership for the first owner. This normally 12 up to 17% from the basic price with decided by government. But for EV will be 0%. In some area 17%. This is very seldom because there is a minister degree from internal affairs that EV road tax suggested 0%. This is the interesting of the electrification. One more, city bus financial scheme. So, as you know that most of the bus operator not buy in cash. Yes, use facility of the leasing company. However, leasing company is the most important thing as a key success factor for successing the selling the bus in Indonesia. If there is a leasing company support the product, then operator is very happy to buy the vehicle. So leasing company can make cooperation with local bank or international bank, then also from multi-finance. So they can get capital from both financial institution and get the spread of the interest. Of course, every leasing company need insurance. So this always related to the leasing company. Then the bus maker can sell directly to dealer, or sell directly to customer or bus operator. Also through coach body builder first, then operator. The bus operator can choose which one of the coach body builder which suitable and interest with bus operator. In some cases, coach body builder can also give a soft payment by installment 1 year or something like this. So the coach body builder which have a big capital will have much order from the bus operator. So as Mr. Bakili said that in some cases, waiting list for the customer up to 10 months or 8 months to get the bus body, to get the complete bus from the coach body builder. Yes, business development related to EV in Indonesia. I think the car distribution method, decide appointed new dealer, then set up through marketplace. Multi-finance for new car or EV conversion. In Indonesia, motorcycle, there is a subsidiary about 10 million rupiah, I mean $600 per motorcycle for conversion from ICE to EV. So that this is multi-finance also needed for the conversion finance. For energy business, there is a battery swap for the motorcycle, but right now there are tractor head already available battery swap. Then public charger, fleet customer charging service, energy storage or smart grid energy, hybrid or with renewable energy, also payment gateway system. Laboratory tests related to battery lithium certification and electric motor certification. This is also new opportunity of the business. EV car manufacturer, including OEM component, there are many chance. Then right now in Indonesia, there is some mining material, raw material from nickel, mangan, cobalt, aluminum, copper. Then right now more than 30 companies already set up the smelter company in Sulawesi Island, also Halmahera Island for nickel, then aluminum in Kalimantan, and then copper in East Java. So in this case, the raw material available in Indonesia, then material of the body electric motors or battery pack, this available in Indonesia. This is interesting. So that right now our government preparing upstream battery from the mining, smelter up to battery pack. There are a big company will make cooperation with CATL, also LG and Ningbo Battery Lithium. The conclusion, entry Indonesia market through component manufacture or assembly of the EV bus chassis, cooperation with Indonesian code body builder, so that the product can obtain the local content certification, can apply the local content certification for government bidding. So as the background of the webinar, that Indonesia will develop 10 cities of the BRT use electric bus, and the target 90% public transport will be electric bus in 2030. In this case, all the operators should join the bidding, should join the tender. The tender also requests the local content certification. So I think the most interesting thing is to do the assembly of the bus chassis or complete bus CKD importation. Number two is set up leasing companies which supported by India Bank or support the EV sales and distribution to support the EV sales and distribution. Why we suggest to make cooperation with leasing companies? Because as you know that to get approval from competitors, leasing companies is not easy. Sometimes they apply, they have a policy, bigger down payment, shorter term of the payment, then high interest. Sometimes like this. So different country will be different treatment to the customer. Number three, I think it is better for new player doing market survey first. Get the feasibility study and dispatch task force team, whether 2 or 3% before set up new companies in Indonesia or establishing the manufacturer. Yeah, there are some brand from India like Tata, passengers and commercial vehicle, also Mahindra and Mahindra, not automatically customer choose this product. Why? Yeah, we should get the answer from the customer. We should get the answer from the customer. However, to do market survey first is a suitable action before establishing or collaboration with a local company. Decide Indonesia as manufacturing base for right-hand drive in the market of ASEAN 10 countries, Australia, New Zealand, and optimize regional content more than 40%. And the export product can be provided by COO, mean the certificate of origin. So in this case, industrial base in Indonesia, you can import the tire from Malaysia or from Thailand in case your company already have higher local content in Thailand or in Malaysia, then import component to Indonesia as a CKD will be 0% from ASEAN members. However, this is also one way, not always establishing new component maker in Indonesia, but also in ASEAN countries. So we call regional contents, not a local content, but regional contents. This ASEAN contents, if more than 40%, then you will get preferred tariff and cheaper or lower import tax in the ASEAN members. I think that's all my presentation, and thank you for all the audience for your attention. Back to Mr. Sridhar.
Thank you very much for a very comprehensive presentation. And I have a lot of questions, but I will hold until we have the other speakers also speak. They will have their own perspectives and own questions. So I will definitely come to you after I've heard everybody else. Thank you very much for the presentation, Mr. Purianto. Can we have the slide change, please? Thank you. Leon, can you change the slide, please? Yeah. So I will request each of these speakers to deliver opening remarks. And once everyone has delivered opening remarks, we will have questions and answers going through to them, after which we go to the audience. So without much delay, let me go to Mr. SATISH Sharma. He does need to leave by 1:30 India time, so I'll try to squeeze maximum amount of value that he can deliver in that much time. Mr. Sharma, stage is yours.
Thank you, Sridhar. Good morning, good afternoon. The speakers have spoken before us, Mr. Lee, Mr. Vincent, Mr. Purianto. Thank you for a very comprehensive insight into how we can enter the Indonesian market. So I represent Apollo Tyres for the region, and we have been present in Indonesia for more than a decade, trying to trade Apollo Tyres in Indonesia. I'll restrict my opening remarks to the topic of how do we see the bus market in Indonesia from our perspective. And like Sridhar has said, that it is a very attractive market, and there is absolutely no doubt in that. And the drivers of growth, whether it's India or Indonesia, more or less both the countries are in a similar economic cycle, if I may say so. There's a relatively faster growth of the GDP that is happening. The population is growing. There is increasing urbanization that is happening in Indonesia, and was spoken about, there is new infrastructure which is being made. And particularly, I think post the COVID, there has been an unprecedented rise in people movement. And we spoke also about the new capital and the new infrastructure. Also, increasingly, there is concern about the environment, air quality in both countries, I think, is a matter of concern. And therefore, all this are strong drivers for usage of public transportation that is happening. And therefore, it is no surprise that there is a strong drive towards electrification, which we are seeing even in Indonesia. Customers are seeking more ride comfort, and while in Indonesia we see that the manufacturing is more of smaller buses, and through the imports, the larger buses are, the premiumization is happening. There's a demand for the larger, high quality buses. And the bus body building, as was pointed out, is in a very huge growth phase. There is a big demand for the better quality buses. And also we are seeing, therefore, there is a good demand for radial tires. However, in radial tires, as per our experience, whatever we have seen is that the demand is catered mostly by local manufacturers. And we are not able to penetrate the market to the extent that we think we could participate in the growth of the market. There are new business models which are being introduced. There are ride hailing, especially Grab, Gojek. And what I feel is that given the similarities of the two markets, there is a lot to be learned. I think Sridhar used the words collaborating, profit from collaboration. In that format, if we could do something, that could be a very interesting thing. As far as tires are concerned, India is a very matured economy and manufacturing of tires. It manufactures world-class quality tires in a very large scale, and we are very proud of that fact. And it is increasingly, the products are world standard. At the same time, they come with a very competitive cost structure. And that's the uniqueness of India. India's manufacturing is that it is a very good alternative for the world, but especially for the developing markets, because of the similarity of terrain and usage patterns, etc., that the Indian products do find a lot of favor in these markets. For example, Indonesia is perhaps after India, one of the still bigger markets which has a application of bias tires. Simply because there's a lot of mining, which happens even in bus application. In the smaller buses, there is, while radialization is growing, there is still a prevalent application of bias markets. Hardly any other market is as big on the bias tires. So there is a lot of similarity which can be. Having said all of these points, I would of course have to say that we are not able to penetrate the market despite our presence there for more than a decade. Mr. Purianto spoke about SNI certification. Of course, that's a prerequisite. The import quota policy, and he did mention that nobody gets 100% quota. The importer does not get 100% quota. The import restrictions and policies are fairly, restrictive and shrouded in ambiguity. There's lack of transparency, while on paper the policies are there, but to the whole process of getting quota is a very laborious one. And our experience has been that it's been decreasing. Our business has been decreasing, much as we would like to engage and penetrate and co-share what we have to offer. So I will stop here at this point to say it's an attractive market. There are a lot of similarities between India and Indonesia. We have the technology, we have the product portfolio for Indonesia. We have been trying to engage with the market, but the whole thing can be, of course, better. Thank you.
Mr. Sharma, you actually made my job easier. Normally, I take a couple of minutes to summarize what each speaker has said, but in this case, you have done that yourself. Coming as you do from the tire industry in India, I think if I heard you correctly, though the opportunity is fantastic and you'd like to do well, what you would ideally want is more transparency in some of these quotas and regulations, which will help you crack the market well. And knowing what Apollo Tyres does very well, you are a long-term player and you will not shy away from short-term obstacles. So if regulations were to be more transparent, you would go a long distance into the market. Okay, so that's pretty much what I gathered from your intervention. Let me turn to Mr. SRIVATS Ram now. Mr. SRIVATS Ram is the managing director of Wheels India, a very prominent company, mainly wheels and also air suspensions. He is, from what I understood, pretty keen to explore the ASEAN market. He, of course, sought a lot of information, which we hope we've been able to provide in this session with Mr. Purianto. Over to him to understand what are his imperatives in India and abroad, and what does he have in mind for ASEAN. Over to you, Mr. Ram.
Thank you, Sridhar. And at the outset, I'd like to thank the speakers before me, Mr. Purianto, specifically for the detail of the different regulatory requirements that we would need to face when we enter the Indonesian market. I represent largely a wheel manufacturer based out of India who has international business. But we also have an air suspension division that I would like to talk about here. Suspension essentially gives ride comfort and handling control on a vehicle, to put it very simplistically. Air suspension systems, I can just, So just to take you through, I have made a presentation, so we can probably go through this. To isolate road shocks from the chassis and also to give grip and acceleration cornering stability for a vehicle is essentially what suspension brings. Next slide, if you can. The air suspension system improves the ride comfort, reduces the noise, vibration, There's an adjustable ride height. It reduces the maintenance cost and also reduces the driver fatigue. What we found is actually in India, when we started in '88, we had got the technology from our wheel joint venture company, Dunlop. And when we took the European technology and applied it in the Indian roads, it was a disaster. So we had to redesign the entire system for Indian roads. And in the 90s, it was not an OEM vehicle manufacturer fitment. So we had to deal with individual bus operators, bus bodybuilders, and work along with them. And through the 90s, we fit close to 1,000 different bus operators with air suspension systems. We currently have over 100,000 buses fit with air suspension systems operating on Indian roads. Of course, after 2000, it became an OEM fitment. But I think the reason I'm telling you about my experience is we have worked with bus bodybuilders, we have worked with bus operators, and we have worked with OEMs through the whole system. What does air suspension do for a bus? You can just go to the next slide. If you look at the vibration frequency, the blue line shows you what it is on a standard product. On an air suspension, it levels off the vibration so that the variation between an unladen and a laden load is kind of stabilized. What does it mean for a bus operator? We used to find that in bus stations, the air suspension buses were first loaded. Some bus operators used to charge a premium because the comfort was higher. They found that they could fill the back seat of a bus on a long distance trip, which normally is left vacant, so they could increase their revenue model. And some of them also found out that they could carry heavier loads, so they started a courier service in addition to the passenger service that they had. So the bus operators started adopting this in the 90s by innovating the use of buses through the suspension system. In 2000, it became an OEM fitment. Go to the next slide. So we have currently, when you have something like an air suspension system, it's important that you of course deliver a product to the bus body builder or to the OEM, but at the end of the day, you also need to service it. So having a service network, training a service network is important. It would be equally important in Indonesia. So while even if we tie up with a bus body builder, we would need to have a dealer kind of network to service our products. We have sold our suspension overseas have been largely through the OEMs. There are a few hundred vehicles on the roads in Sri Lanka, Thailand, Mauritius, and East Africa. And we're currently working on an electronic suspension as well. Next slide. This gives you an idea of what the product looks like. It's a fairly complicated product. It's not an individual product. So when we supply it to somebody, it would go as a kit. And the kit would then need to be assembled onto a chassis. So it's a complicated kit which has numerous number of parts, metallic parts, rubber parts, valves and sensors, all that put into the product. It would need to be assembled onto the chassis of a vehicle, which is why probably the bus bodybuilder would be the right way to go about it. And we have front and rear suspensions for different configurations, ultra low flow buses, which are used in cities, to semi-low flow buses, which are used for intercity travel. All these different configurations we've been through because we've been through the whole development of the bus industry in India over the last 20-30 years. Next slide. This gives an idea of our breadth. These are our main customers in terms of transport companies that we work with across the country, in addition to the OEMs. Next slide. Customer support is extremely important. Our whole approach to this is it's a service more than a product. So you need to ensure that you have all the service points on different routes covered. You have requisite parts. You keep track of mileage of individual customers so that you ensure that the parts are replaced so that it does not have any downtime due to the system that you've supplied in. It's a system that requires maintenance. And so having these outlets is extremely important. When we look at Indonesia, we would need to have something similar to this to service effectively and ensure 100% uptime for our customers. Next slide. These are some of our customers that we service in the country. Next. So why are we looking at Indonesia? I think, of course, if I look at Indonesia beyond Nusantara, there's also all these major projects, intercity linking. The country is also reaching a level of affluence where I think travel is going to increase substantially. And I think bus travel is at a point where it can actually explode, and we believe there are opportunities. While we will service our OEMs who also are going to sell in Indonesia, we feel that tying up with a local partner, a bus bodybuilder, somebody with a dealership network, will be required for us to penetrate the market. And if we are able to get certain volumes out of our sale in Indonesia, we will also look at localizing some non-critical parts. So this is broadly our template and the way that we look at Indonesia. We think that it is a frontier that we can look at as Indian companies. We are close enough. Culturally, we have more than 2,000 years of history of working together between us. And I think that there is an opportunity, especially in the bus market in Indonesia, which has been relatively dormant till now and is now at a point which is set for exploding into growth and prosperity. With that, I would end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ram. As usual, a very succinct presentation which delivers all the key messages in a neat capsule. I think we discussed earlier also that Indonesia has both a new bus and a rebuilt chassis market, so which provides an aftermarket opportunity also. So I think that is something which might get you interested, provided some of the other market conditions support you. Yeah, I think so. With that, let me move on to Mr. VINNIE MEHTA. Mr. VINNIE MEHTA is the Director General of the Automotive Components Manufacturers Association, a very influential voice in India and abroad to support the interest of Indian manufacturers. And Mr. Purianto did make a mention that Indian suppliers can come together and make use of policy initiatives. So over to you, Mr. MEHTA.
Thank you, Sridhar. Can you kindly host my presentation?
Leo, can you? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sridhar, for having me, and thank you to all the speakers for giving perspective, not just on the Indian capabilities, but also on the Indonesian market. Can you max this, please? Yeah. Yeah. So I will talk to you about the auto component industry, and do the next slide, please. And just to give you an overview of the automotive industry in India, the automotive industry in India is the third largest in the world today. And the auto and the component industry together have a combined turnover of $120 billion US. And we are a significant contributor to the national economy. Can you do the next, please? Coming to the auto component industry today is a world-class industry, and last year, that is for year ending March 2023, our turnover was close to $70 billion, and with the kind of growth that we are witnessing in the vehicle industry, on back of it, the auto component industry grew a whopping 33%. Like the world over, the auto and the auto component industry is undergoing a rapid transformation. And for year ending March 2023, 3% of our turnover came from the electric mobility industry. And as the EV industry gathers more weight, you will find this component gradually growing further in India. But today, the Indian auto component industry is a very, very robust and a globally competitive industry. We do the next. This is largely the product profile of the manufacturer. In fact, anything and everything that a vehicle manufacturing industry requires is produced in India, be it engine components or be it suspension or braking or body and chassis or the drive transmission, electronics, electricals, everything. And of course, our competence lies in engine components, in drive transmissions. Yeah, we'll do the next. This is a chart on our trade. As I said, the Indian auto component industry is a globally competitive industry, and almost 30% of what we produce gets exported. Key export markets are the US and the European Union. Each accounts for $6 billion worth of our export. And also, when we're also importing because the domestic market is growing, but there's a fine balance between import and export. So we typically import as much as we export. Yeah, we do the next. I've covered this, as I said, that both Europe and US account for our largest export markets. And these are largely to the OEMs and tier 1 customers. The next. This is on the import. Here, typically, the largest import happens from Asia, especially China, followed by Europe. So Europe is a very balanced trading partner, almost as much import as we export. Yeah, here's the next. Sridhar alluded to an aftermarket. So in India also, we have a very vibrant aftermarket that is $10 billion in size. And coming to the trade in Indonesia, our trade is really very, very small. Mr. Sridhar did allude to some of the challenges that the Indian companies face with respect to the regulatory environment. Some of it is unsaid, and the numbers speak for themselves. So India exported about $410 million worth to Indonesia, and we imported about 201 million worth, but there's a lot of scope to grow. I would just sort of wanted to just give you this perspective that there's a lot of room and opportunities between our two countries. And I think with the growing market in Indonesia, the Indian suppliers do have an opportunity, and APMEA will be very happy to introduce Indian suppliers to the Indonesian bus manufacturers or even the Indonesian bodybuilders. Do please, Sridhar, share my connect with them and my presentation with them. And if anybody has any more information that may require, I'd be very happy to support them. Thank you. And that's about it, Sridhar. Yeah, I mean, these are typically the outlook and the outlook. No, this is just fine. The outlook looks very bright for the Indian industry today because the market is growing very, very rapidly. And last year was probably the best performance year for the car industry. And going by what we are doing in the festive season, all segments of the industry, whether it is the commercial vehicle, whether it's the two-wheeler or the car industry, we will scale a new peak in this financial year, and so will the auto component industry. So at this juncture, we are on a very, very strong footing, and we're very happy to support our Indonesian friends. Thank you.
Again, a typically sharp presentation, and I think a lot of people will take heart from your offer to support, to create introductions and to facilitate market entry and support people who are already in the market. So I most certainly will share your contacts, but I believe that most people would already have your contact. You are a well-known personality. So
no, it's okay. Please do so. Yeah, please share. Yeah, thanks.
So let me then move to Mr. Mananathan. Yeah, Mr. Mananathan, we decided to reach out to him for a very specific perspective, in the sense that his company is into the automotive service equipment space, which would be very interesting in a market like Indonesia, which is a good mix of new and older vehicles. So product lifecycle management is very important, and that's where I think somebody like a MANATEC can add value to Indonesia. Mr. Mananathan, over to you. You've heard our speakers. You can maybe articulate your vision and what you think is possible.
Thank you, Sridhar, and good morning and good afternoon to all of you. And most of my previous speakers were manufacturers of main components for the automobiles. And we are into service sector, and the service sector is going to focus on the operating cost. See, nowhere in the world any country can ignore the operating cost and be more expensive in maintaining the vehicles, and finally end up with a higher cost of service to the end customer. Therefore, we mainly focus on wheel alignment and wheel balancing, which are the most important causes of maintaining, the tire life. Tire cost is the major cost in any maintenance. And okay, Mr. SATISH SHARMA is here, and Apollo, they are manufacturing one of the world quality tires. But if the wheel alignment or wheel balancing is not maintained properly, the whole purpose of their quality becomes, a question mark. Probably understanding this, most of the Indian tire companies and automobile manufacturers have started sponsoring the wheel alignment and wheel balancing business across India by doing the service carefully, effectively in their stations. Okay, I have a small presentation. Can you present, Sridhar?
Do you have his presentation, Leon, or? Hello? Leon?
Sorry, I don't have the material.
Oh, okay. Must not have reached you. Would you mind presenting it yourself, Mr. Mananathan? I think it must not have reached her if you have the presentation with you.
Yeah, one second. Oh, I thought you will be sharing it. I am not able to locate it now. Anyway, I will go ahead with my whatever information I have, I can share. Basically, in the Indonesian market, the number of buses, I understand more than 2 lakhs buses are running. And apart from the buses, and also trucks are there and other passenger vehicles. All put together, basically, if every vehicle on the road can be brought under proper maintenance, particularly on the proper wheel alignment and wheel balancing methodologies, it will be a national saving on the whole for more than $100 million per year we could save. That is the statistics which I have worked out. And for establishing, we have established ourselves in more than 70 countries in the world, and our prime market being Europe. But in Indonesia, still we are not able to make a very big breakthrough, though we have supplied a couple of equipments here and there. Therefore, this is an opportunity for us to come into Indonesia and to serve your team of people. Apart from the wheel alignment for the vehicles standalone, we are also into projects to carry out the end of alignment in manufacturing sector. We have done a lot of projects in the Ashok Leyland in India and also Mahindras in India. They use our projects to ensure that the axle alignment and wheel alignment is maintained properly before it goes to the road. And with this is the safety precautions they take. Because any problem on the wheel alignment, it is going to be cost very, very heavily. And the main reason for the tire, as a tire care company, if the tire pressure is not maintained properly, which most of our drivers are ignorant of, particularly in India, we have focused on maintaining the tire pressure by using our automatic tire pressure monitoring system. This tire pressure monitoring system gauge can be installed in any vehicle and can be monitored from a centralized place using digital technology, even if a driver is away from the headquarters, 1,000 kilometers away from the headquarters. We will be able to monitor the pressure of the tire individually and communicate to the driver, tell them where you go and fill up the air in the tire so that the tire wear can be greatly reduced. Nearly 10% of the tire wear is caused because of the wrong inflation. Even excess pressure is also a problem. That also causes more tire wear. Under pressure is also a problem. That's also going to cause a tire wear. Therefore, we will also develop, apart from wheel alignment and wheel balancing, the tire pressure monitoring systems, which we are supplying to some OEMs in India. We will definitely be happy to work with your market. These tires which are burning on the roads of the country, they also pollute because the tires, when they run on the country, they are becoming some particulate matters, and which many of us may not be aware of. The particulate matters value increases when there are more automobiles running, when the tire wear takes place. Therefore, we contribute in saving the environment also by doing proper wheel alignment and wheel balancing and ensuring the tire pressure of all the vehicles which are going around on the road. So what we look for from Indonesia is since the government seems to be having more control on the regulations and systems, we may like to work with the government in establishing various these service centers, particularly for tire care, and that could be an opportunity for us to enter into the Indonesian market. With this prelude, I just stop here. I am prepared to answer any question which is asked by the participants or the viewers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mananathan. I think that's a very innovative way to approach the market. I mean, you could possibly work with the government with the objective of rationalizing the fleet, making it more productive and also less polluting. I think that is something that the Indonesian government should welcome. With that welcome perspective, let me go to Mr. Sudhir Mehta. Mr. Mehta, you are the last but definitely not the least. As somebody who's heard you speak, I know that you will add a lot of value to the audience. And Mr. Mehta, for the audience's benefit, is Chairman and Managing Director of Pinnacle Industries, which is an interiors, end-to-end interiors fabrication provision company, and also Eka Mobility, which is a startup when it comes to EVs, EV buses. So, and also among other electric vehicles. Mr. Mehta, without much ado, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Sridhar. And I think many points have been covered. I'll focus my presentation on really three areas. I think the first is the opportunity that we all have in the bus industry. I think it's a fantastic time to be in the bus industry because not only is there a very large impact of sustainability coming from electric vehicles, the second is it's probably one of the large business opportunities of this century. And let me set that in perspective, first with the Indian market and then to speak about what will happen globally. So just to give you a perspective, at the start of this year, India probably had about 1,000 electric buses. And within the next 6 months, about 20 to 25,000 electric buses, which will get tendered out, which means that we are looking at a huge opportunity in terms of change. India has about 1.5 million buses, and this is about 1.6 per 1,000 people. And if you look at even countries like Indonesia, the penetration rates can be and will be much higher. So both in India and Indonesia and in markets around our region, the opportunity is absolutely large. Today, China contributes 95 to 96% of global volumes on buses. The European market, again, in perspective terms, is about 4,000 a year. So India already by the end of this year will be larger than the European market in numbers terms. And by 2030, and I'm sure Vinnie will agree with me, India will be the second largest EV market in the world. So this is a very large opportunity that we're looking at. And this is, of course, across OEMs, across component manufacturers, because that's what makes the ecosystem. What's most interesting, I think, is for countries like Indonesia is the automotive world in the past used to be a world where you had very large factories. And the EV ecosystem is actually giving a chance to disrupt that whole system. Because in the future, specifically when you talk about EV buses, you're going to see the opportunity to produce these at many locations around the world, which essentially means that countries like Indonesia, which have a strong tradition of local bodybuilders, will have the opportunity to create their own ecosystem for buses which are locally assembled, which are locally manufactured. And the heart of any EV vehicle is actually now the software and the electronics. So to that extent, you're going to see a sea change in terms of where the focus comes in. In an EV bus, 40% by value is batteries, the rest is electronics, and then of course you have the mechanical, chassis, interior, all of these other parts. So there is going to be a big change in value equations. Having said all of this, the opportunity really between India and Indonesia is in many areas. One is for Indonesian component suppliers to really work with the Indian component suppliers. As Vinnie mentioned, India has industry which is globally competitive both in cost terms and in quality terms. Today, our industry can stand up against the best. And this is where there is the opportunity for local suppliers in Indonesia, whether it is on items which are mechanical in nature, interior, seating, any kind of components SRIVATS spoke about. There is also large opportunities on electricals and electronic items. These are all things which are going to be an increasing part of an EV ecosystem. And then, of course, batteries. So these are three distinct areas where India and Indonesian partners can compete. There is also a large ecosystem which is possible for the OE manufacturers, because as I mentioned earlier, the typical model would be that you would get the chassis from somewhere and then the local bodybuilding would be done in Indonesia. I think EVs allows for a different paradigm, whether it is EV buses, which are smaller buses, which are, let's say, the metro feeder kinds of buses, or the larger city buses or intercity buses. In all of these, there are collaborations which are possible where local bodybuilders or local component suppliers now have the opportunity to work with countries like India and other places to license technology, to have joint ventures, and to be able to assemble. So for instance, in our case, we are making an electric bus, and we have what we call a micro factory concept, where this is something which can be set up in any location. You can use an existing facility. The fixtures, all of the system can be provided by us, and a local production of electric buses can be done where we control the software. All of the other elements are available. So similar arrangements will be possible. And this gives an opportunity for Indonesia really to leapfrog technology. What EV is also going to enable is that in a lot of cases, countries like India and Indonesia have a huge fleet of existing buses which need to be replaced. Again, to put it in perspective, India will need to replace at least, the replacement demand is 1.5 million, leave aside new demand. So you're talking about at least a requirement of a few 100,000 buses eventually, which India will need if we have to take care of public transport. Similarly, in Indonesia, all of the old buses will need to be replaced, and hopefully most of these will be EV, because that's from an environment point of view and from a total cost of ownership point of view, it is something that makes sense. The last and final point that I will make is that the reason why the partnership between our countries in a way makes sense is India is probably amongst the most value-conscious markets in the world. So from a total cost of ownership perspective, our buses running in India, and this is publicly available information, where the last tenders which have gone, which are for running of buses, are anywhere between 45 rupees to 70 rupees a kilometer. And that means that the state transport is getting a bus, they're getting the whole infrastructure, they're getting people, they're getting drivers, they're getting electric supply, they're getting charging systems, all for that price. And that by far is, if you compare with Europe, it's at least, I would say, by a factor of 3 or 4 lower cost than the costs which are operating in Europe. So this does give also very large opportunities for markets like Indonesia, where these are similar to India value-conscious markets. And because India will be so competitive in cost terms, products from India and partnerships between India and Indonesia can be very, very successful. And I'm sure we will start to see a lot of this. Also related to the point of assembling locally, with an electric bus product, there will be many such opportunities to do so, which will mean that these products will not have the high import duty restrictions. They will be produced locally in Indonesia and hopefully will qualify for all of the local benefits that come from producing in that country. Thank you.
Again, Dr. Mehta, I love the concept of micro factories. You're intelligently addressing the localization question here and trying to create a mobile architecture for EV bus manufacturing. I think I love that idea. I think it is about time that people started taking a modular approach to localization and manufacture. It's wonderful. And Leon, can we have the slide change for the panel discussion? Yeah. And I'm quickly going to jump and ask Mr. SATISH Sharma, because he had a hard stop at 1:30. We are 3 minutes over that. Mr. Sharma, you heard all the panelists speak about. Is there a closing remark that you want to make, or do you want to ask something of any of them? I leave that to you.
No, I think I'd like to thank all the fellow co-panelists. They've shared a very good perspective, starting from Mr. Mehta, VINNIE Mehta, who's laid out how strong the Indian auto component ecosystem is, and it's really the bright story of our country. So we have the technology, we have the opportunity which Dr. Sudhir Mehta has mentioned, that both sides there is a strong case for collaborating with each other. The point about value consciousness and high technology at the same time makes it a very attractive proposition. And culturally, there is a lot of similarity. We have been there more than a decade. From our side, from a Apollo Tyres point of view, I'd just like to say that we have been very resilient and very patient with Indonesia, because it's the largest market in ASEAN. And while we have made better inroads in Thailand and Philippines, we have not been able to so far have that kind of success in Indonesia, and for all practical reasons of perhaps protecting the local manufacturing there. What we have done is that we have created a very good portfolio tailor-made to the Indonesian market, whether it's the mining segment or truck bus radial tires or even the car tires. So we have a portfolio ready, and we are seeking more opportunities. We have also had great relationships with our local business partners in Indonesia, who have traveled this journey with us equally patiently, and we are trying to penetrate the market with the best efforts that we can do. So we do hope that going forward, given the opportunity, that we will be able to do, we seek a higher growth and a share from the market. That would be, otherwise, I think all points have been very well made by the other speakers.
Thank you, Mr. Sharma. You're welcome to stay on, of course. And if you are, then I might ask you a question towards the end. But if you are leaving us, then thank you very much for your time. So
thanks for having me, Sridhar, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you. So just before I go to the other panelists, I just want to remind the audience that we will come back to you for your questions in about 10 or 15 minutes. So please start typing your comments as we speak, so that I can take them up as soon as I have had a round of questions with all the panelists. So let me first turn to Mr. Purianto. I mean, you made an extremely comprehensive presentation, Mr. Purianto, and this was by public demand, as I would say. Everyone wanted to understand what is it that is in the Indonesian import regulations. A couple of points I wanted to clarify as somebody who heard you was, first thing, if you are a component supplier from India, would an Indian homologation or a test certificate be valid in Indonesia? Number one. Number two, you mentioned the regional content requirement. So let us assume that it is it 40%, if you can confirm that? And secondly, does the same figure, 40%, apply to auto components also? Do you need to, for example, would Mr. SRIVATS benefit if his air suspensions were 40% localized in Indonesia? So those are my two questions for you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sridhar. Related to the local components, basically, the component maker also should apply the permit to produce the components classification number. So in this case, the local component makers also having a preference tariff related to the material. By the way, CKD from India to Indonesia, as far as you already reach, the manufacturer already reached more than 40%, then you provide COO. This is also same case with a vehicle. But if the vehicle manufacturer import from India as a CKD, as a component, then there is 0%. Why? Because there is a preference tariff agreement between ASEAN to India. So our Minister of the Finance already arranged, already issued a regulatory. So secondly, I don't remember, sorry.
No problem. I'll repeat my question. I asked you that if an auto component made in India has Indian test certification, would that test certification be valid in Indonesia?
Yes, it is valid. As far as this is same as like IEC standard or maybe ISO standard is valid for component certification.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. So now let me turn to Mr. Mehta. Mr. Mehta, you mentioned your generous offer to help Indian suppliers succeed in Indonesia. I mean, given what APMEA has been doing for Indian suppliers across the globe, and you having held this position for a very long time, when you look at the Indonesia case, specifically, what might be the 1, 2, 3 steps that you can take to support Indian suppliers in Indonesia?
Sridhar, thank you. In fact, there have been at least 3 APMEA delegations to Indonesia in the past, where we have tried to explore the Indonesian markets. Some of the Indian auto component manufacturers such as Pricol, the Minda Industry, and the Uno Minda Group, the Spark Minda Group, they are invested in Indonesia. Okay, and as I think Mr. Purianto mentioned that there are a lot of Japanese supply chains in Indonesia. So if you are part of a Japanese supply chain, it becomes relatively easier for you to penetrate into Indonesia. But having said that, as APMEA, and we represent over 850 auto component manufacturers, and my offer remains any of the bus manufacturers in Indonesia or any of the bus body builders, if they wish to source auto components out of India, we will be very happy to support them. And we will also contemplate mobilizing a delegation to the Busworld if we get enough response from our members.
That is a very generous offer, and we will take you up on that offer, Mr. Mehta.
Thank you.
I can assure you that. And let me go to Mr. MANANATHAN. Mr. MANANATHAN, we clearly understood that Indonesia has a similar value structure in terms of the customer. It has similar market conditions, road conditions. So when have you had a chance to explore the ASEAN service equipment market or Indonesian service equipment market? Specifically, and the government model that you talked about of collaborating with the government. Have you tried this elsewhere, and do you think it can succeed in Indonesia?
Yeah, basically, we are very strong in Thailand, and we are very strong in Malaysia and other Asian countries. Particularly in Indonesia, yes, we are not that strong. Then I saw Mr. Priyanto's presentation where government has got a lot of regulations with regards to this automotive industry. Then the one idea came to me that we can work with the government, but the solution probably to encourage the private parties, private service providers to work with us. That's what is happening throughout the world. Okay, only in Indonesia the situation is a little different. That's why he gave the proposal. But everything said and done, from all the speakers, you could understand that India has got all the talents, right from tire manufacturing, parts manufacturing, interior, and everything, and also the service station equipment to offer the best possible services. It is up to Indonesian government or Indonesian people to understand, and probably Busworld, as it was nicely told, you can arrange some one-to-one meetings, which will help us to make them to understand what India can offer to them in terms of quality, cost, time, and quality. Okay, that should be probably the next step which you can take forward.
Oh, thank you very much, and thanks for your willingness to visit and explore the market further. Mr. Ram, you in your presentation presented a sort of a wish list or a plan going forward in Indonesia. Having heard all the speakers, has that initial plan or presentation of ideas been a bit more crystallized? Are you a bit more assured in terms of the direction that you want to go in Indonesia?
I think the direction remains the same. I think one point that I'd like to make, just taking on what Sudhir mentioned about the value proposition that Indian component and vehicle industry people offer. We offer a value for money, but more importantly, unlike certain other geographies, we're also very service oriented. So ensuring that not only will we sell you a product, we will ensure that the performance of the product is good over a lifetime. That's probably a slight variation from the other, value conscious supply countries that are there. So that's probably one angle that I'll mention. But I feel that to sell in any market, you need to be local, you need to have partners, you need to have people on the ground. The extent to which you can localize also is a question of scale. There may be certain type of components where you don't need the scale. There may be certain others that you may have to make at one location and then export into Indonesia. But it really depends what actually happens, depends on what the progress is in Indonesia. Other point I'd like to mention is there's a great opportunity to look at retrofitting existing vehicles in Indonesia. Outside of the new vehicles, existing vehicles, and that in itself gives an opportunity. I know, for example, that there are a lot of there are buses which are in operation. There are also a lot of buses which are not in operation, which basically calls for some basic service. If it is done, you can have a lot of these vehicles operational. And once reliability improves in bus service, people will go towards it. From the government's viewpoint, it is a lower carbon footprint, even without electric. Even if it is diesel, it's one bus equals 20 cars, 30 cars. So from that perspective, it reduces the amount of pollution and the traffic on the roads, which I don't know, I haven't been to Jakarta for maybe 15 years, but I do remember the traffic was, people were surprised when I ended up in meetings on time. So I think there is this, the factor of service, value for money, and willingness to partner. These are three attributes that I think probably Indian companies can lend towards the Indonesian bus industry. And we are open to anyone who wants to engage with us. Of course, we will take things one step at a time, but we are open to anything. And I'm open to any questions that anyone may have.
No, that's a very good point. I mean, when you speak of, I think the message that you deliver was sustainability. You want it to be sustainable. And the value you deliver is also that, right? I mean, it's not just a product you're offering, but you're offering a way to make fleets more efficient, right? And I think that is a value that will resonate very strongly in a market like Indonesia, which wants to become green and which wants to ensure freedom from congestion. So let me turn to Mr. Mehta. Your micro factories is a question that is a phrase that really stuck in my head. So I just wanted to elaborate on the concept. I mean, where have you got this concept from, and where might you be willing to apply without giving any trade secrets?
No, there's no trade secrets here, Sridhar. This is, let's, in terms of an electric vehicle, and if we talk about an electric bus, the 2-3 things have changed versus, let's say, a conventional product. In a conventional product, engines and transmissions used to be the heart of the vehicle. In an electric vehicle, the electric vehicle software is actually at the heart of the vehicle. This is what controls the vehicle. This is what runs the vehicle. So this gives us an opportunity to kind of redefine the whole way we used to look at the automotive industry. Earlier, when you think of automotive plants, you think of hundreds of acres, you think of hundreds of millions of investment, and you think of large facilities where things are produced in-house. What has changed today is, one is you have an absolutely amazing set of component suppliers which are today present in almost every mature market, which means that components come as subsystems. Essentially, OEMs end up becoming integrators of technology. They end up controlling the software, and they end up working for, let's say, a setting up of a sales and service infrastructure. This has allowed us to create a concept of a micro factory, and this is something which we have now operational in India. This month, we will produce about 25 buses, and next month, we will produce 50 electric buses. These are all coming from a plant which is about 5,000 square meters in size, which is able to produce this. It's a 14-station plant. And the whole concept is to actually have fixtures which enable all of this to be done. We have a long-term partnership with the VDL Group of Netherlands, which, as you know, is the largest electric mobility company in Europe. And one of our companies there is a company that has set up actually bus plants around the world. So we have made a system of fixtures where when you're talking about the bus chassis to be manufactured, you're talking about the bus body to be done, which is fixtures which can be first manual and then later robotic based on volumes. All of the components are coming as what I call a bus in a box. Earlier, we had done it as a truck in a box. And this is something which can then go to that particular country and be established. So my personal view is, in the world of the future, you're going to have plants which are not large, but which are small, which are hyper-local at some point. So every kind of service today is given at the point of consumption. And especially when you go to the electric bus market, every country has the ambition to make electric buses on their own. They want to have local production. There are large incentives available if this is done locally. And to be able to do all of this, the micro factory qualifies, because you can set up the micro factory even at an existing location. In our case, we've decided to make it where you don't need any pits. You can have an existing factory which can be converted into an electric vehicle factory. It can be a bodybuilder facility, a component manufacturer facility. What is different about India, and I think SRIVATS also spoke about this, is that in India, we are used to providing not just products, we are used to providing a continuous system. We are not transaction driven. We are driven by a long-term system of partnership, which means that when, and without naming any other, let's say, sources of supply, typically those tend to be transactional in nature. In the case of India, when you get a partner, you're getting a partner which is not just giving you a product, but giving you something which will give service over a period of time. For a bus, the uptime is absolutely very important. The software becomes extremely important. In most cases of an electric bus, when you buy an electric bus, you're buying a black box, which basically means that if the bus has a problem, then you need a laptop, and you need somebody who's sitting on some part of the world which controls the software, and then they have to turn it on or turn it off. As they may, I can see Mr. Purianto laughing because he knows exactly what I'm talking about. Here, the difference here is that when you work with, let's say, OEMs in India, especially those who have made their own vehicle software, and this, as we all know, India has a very strong tradition of automotive software. The difference that you will get, in our case, we control our own vehicle technology, which means that not only are we able to provide that, we are able to license that, we are able to work with them for local conditions. And this probably will be one of the biggest differentiating factors that Indian OEMs will be able to bring to markets like Indonesia, those who control the software and are willing to share it. Because in most other markets, this software is not shared. And then what ends up happening is that you buy a product which looks cheap initially, but then over a period of time, you end up paying for service, you end up paying for software upgrades, it's over-the-line upgrades. And in many countries, these are also national security issues, because every country wants to ensure that the software of that product, the IP, is residing, similar to what's happening with Microsoft, or there are now restrictions that you want the data to be resident. In an electric bus, we are collecting data for about 360 parameters every few microseconds. So there is a huge amount of data, and this data is also data that can later be used for things like predictive maintenance. This is data that can be used to improve driver behavior. For instance, we are able to give on an app information about the driver behavior, how the driver is driving, if they are going above the particular speed limits, if there is a better way that they can use the braking system. All of these are possible with electric buses, because electric buses fundamentally is a software product. I think the difference is we used to be in a mechanical age. We are now entering an age where an automotive is no longer a mechanical product, it's a software product. And this is where I think there can be a very interesting partnership between our countries.
Again, very comprehensively and articulately answered. So bus in a box is another phrase which we will have for the next panel discussion when we have it. But I think your point is very clear in the sense that there doesn't have to be an either or, it can be an and solution, right? So just to conclude, we are over time, and I think there's a very interesting cricket match for a lot of Indian viewers to take in. So I will keep it short. I will ask the three Indian panelists to answer maybe in one sentence or so, in terms of would you be interested in taking first steps in Indonesia within the next 6 months? I mean, it might be a dialogue, it might be a visit, it might be a phone call, but do you see that happening in the next 6 months? You can all take it one by one.
So maybe I'll take it, Sridhar. For me, the answer is easy. I think the three letters, India and Indonesia share the first three letters. So to that extent, there is huge synergy. We are markets which are both value-conscious markets. If you combine the requirements of Indonesia with what is going to happen in India, I think you're talking already about very large populations which need public transport solutions. We are barely scratching the surface. I think both countries, public transport, unfortunately, has been something which has been underrepresented. And this needs to change for the world. And this is something that a lot can be done. So the answer is absolutely yes.
Okay. Mr. Mananathan?
Yeah, definitely within a month we will reach out.
Oh, that is much faster than expected. Excellent. Mr. Ram?
Well, as I showed in my presentation, my last slide was what I want to do in Indonesia. So we are very interested and have been interested in the market, but I think the time is right now.
Excellent. So, Mr. Mehta, I don't need to specifically ask you a question. These are three members of the delegation that will come to Busworld Jakarta. So that's pretty clear. Okay. And Mr. Purianto, just to give you the last word, I mean, Indian suppliers don't talk so big. I mean, Indian suppliers work very hard from what I know and understand. And we have quality products that combine the best of the West and the East, right? So having heard all of them, do you think that when they come to Indonesia, they will have a good audience?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, basically, higher business for Apollo, I understand already penetrate to Indonesia market. So I know the brands is about Apollo, and some general part also already enter penetrate to Indonesian market. Related to retrofit of the aftermarket buses or current buses operation. Normally in Indonesia, the bus body to be changed 6 or 7 years. 6 or 7 years to be changed the body. So I think it is also a good chance. And based on the information what I get, that there is about 25% to 30% of the bus bodybuilder, it is rebuild the new body. So that means change the body with a new one. Based on the regulation of public transport, the bus permitted up to 10 years, 10 years usage, yeah? 10 years lifetime of the bus for public buses. But private or rental may be more depending on the condition of the buses. So if you want to do the upgrade the suspension from leaf spring to air suspension and so on, I think better direct offering to bus bodybuilder. There is some bus bodybuilder also create from new one. Sometimes a bus operator asking to change new one from the leaf spring to suspension. Why? Because now the route condition like Trans Java from the east side to western side already highway. So it is a very comfort for passenger, and passenger prefer to get on the air suspension. On the other hand, I also just sharing the information that electricity price in Indonesia about normally about 10.5 cent per kilowatt, 10.5 cent per kilowatt. But for public transport, there is about 6 to 7 cents per kilowatt for public transport. In the night, from the 22 p.m. up to 5 p.m., there is a discount 30% from the power generation policy, so that the public transport can save much energy cost if charging in the night only once like this. More information that there is 10 cities of Indonesia will convert become BRT. So the BRT support by World Bank, also German Development Bank, to set up infrastructure. In Java right now already big cities Jakarta, Surabaya, Bandung, also Semarang already have a BRT, and small city like Solo, Jogja also already set up BRT. But in the small city, there is the size of bus is only 8 meters, not 12 meters. Most of them using the 8 meters, and the overall width, I think there's sometimes difficult for manufacturer, because this regulated from 1993, 2,100 millimeters width, overall width, 2,100. So in the few years ago, Tata overall width 2,250 millimeters overall width, so that Tata bus, Tata medium bus cannot pass the type approval. So Yes, of course, all the bus should comply to the destination country. I think that's all from my information, Mr. Sridhar. And
I think it's
thanks for
excellent.
your attention.
No, I thank you for the depth of information that you've provided. And I think it answered my question also, because you've given very specific opportunities for Indian suppliers to capitalize upon, and also things to watch out for. I think with that, I've got I've looked at the audience questions. Most of them are very interested in the presentations. They have questions about the supply chain. They have questions about R&D. They have questions on how can, what are the gaps in the market that Indian suppliers can exploit. And I think those questions have been well answered. So I won't really go back to the panel again on that. What then I have to, as my final duty, while assuring the audience that all the presentations and the video link to this webinar is available online. Leo, you can share the link to the Busworld Southeast Asia website so that people can take it down. I think the content should be up in a few hours, right, Leo? Yeah, there it is. And now let me move to Jan. Jan, can we have Jan's slide, please? Jan, who has been listening to us very patiently, is Managing Director of Busworld Foundation, which is the knowledge arm of Busworld. He will deliver the closing remarks. Thank you and thoughts to ponder to take us to the next webinar and to Busworld Southeast Asia. Thank you very much. Stage is yours, Jan.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sridhar. And thanks to all the panelists and all the speakers. I think this webinar was most interesting and very directive for us at Busworld for what we are going to do in Jakarta in May next year. What you have been telling us is directive for us on what activities we should deploy there, what content we should approach, etc. So thank you very much. This was most interesting. There are some conclusions, I think, to this webinar. I've got 8 small points that I want to touch, and that we, as I said, will take with us to prepare the Busworld edition in Jakarta, as well the exhibition, as the knowledge sharing part, the conferences, the seminars that we will have there. First of all, I think we all agree, and figures show that Asia is the fastest growing bus market in the world today. Until 2 years ago, we thought that the fastest growing bus market would be Latin America. It is clearly shown in all figures worldwide today that Asia, and especially Southeast Asia, is the fastest growing bus market. Even if we exclude China, and we heard some figures about India, so everything points in the same direction. Within the Asian market, the Indonesian market is known as innovative and very fast growing. Innovative because of the energy transition that is going on, and because of the increase of the bus rapid transit systems and the kilometers in those BRT systems. Indonesia has become the biggest market in ASEAN, and the innovative part is playing mostly in the urban areas. This is where the energy transition is going on. But also we see a race of vehicles, a race of demand in long-haul services between the different islands, but also on the islands itself. And not to be forgotten, a very significant race in the demand-responsive transport. And this has an impact on the sizes of the vehicles, as Mr. Purianto and different other panelists have said. We are not only focusing on 12-meter buses, we're focusing on 8-meter buses, we're focusing on shuttle services, etc. So what is needed in the Indonesian market is new vehicles, but also the retrofitting of existing vehicles, and as Mr. MEHTA clearly said, also the improving of the operations itself. What is important is that if we are talking about the electrification of the bus fleet, it is clearly true in Indonesia and in several Asian countries that the bus sector is clearly taking the lead in this. If we know, for example, that only 14% of the electricity production in Indonesia is green electricity production, and we are making the transition from diesel buses to electric buses, then we will need a higher electricity production. And if the transition of the energy production itself is not changing, then for sustainability arguments, we will have done absolutely nothing, right? So as a bus industry, we need to include the industry of energy production and the sector of the energy distribution to, let's say, set the sustainability goals that are with us. So these are also sectors that we will need to apply in this discussion. It is clearly the goal of Indonesia to raise this green electricity production up to 50% by 2050. But today, we are somewhere between 14 and 17%, which is mainly based on hydrogen powers there. So that's an important thing to say. Third point is that we all agreed on the fact that the Indonesian bus industry is based on the strong and traditionally strong bus bodybuilders industry, right? And this is the most accessible industry to enter with components, with parts, etc. So all the odds are very positive in the direction of creating more collaboration between Indian suppliers and the Indonesian, mainly bus bodybuilding industry. We are a fast-growing market, we are innovative, we are growing, and we are based on a bodybuilding industry. So that gives us very strong means for collaboration in different sectors. And again, I appreciate a lot the analysis made by Mr. MEHTA. We're talking about today about batteries, 40% of the value of the vehicles. We are talking about software, very clearly, as well in the operations of the electric vehicles, as in the improving of the operations in general. And we're talking, of course, about the hardware parts, where the bus bodybuilders have the knowledge, etc. I would like to add one point to this list, that is the data collection, data analysis needed for improving these operations. So battery, software, hardware, and data analysis will be meaningful for the future of the bus industry there. And I'm very convinced that very different Indian suppliers can contribute to this. So the need for international collaboration is absolutely proven, especially noticing also the supply chain problems that we notice all around the world, mainly for semiconductors, for microchips, etc. Right? So more international collaboration is shown, or the need for that is shown by the figures. And it is very clearly also requested by the Association of the Indonesian Bus Bodybuilders. Right? We had the last Busworld edition in Jakarta 2 years ago. Conclusion of this conference was very clearly the need for easier access to high quality international produced components to be brought to the Indonesian market. So everything points in the same direction. What is needed for that? We need flexible, clear, and economic feasible import regulations and or regulations for localized production. And these should implement a decrease of the administrative burden that is coming along with international business. We're not talking only about taxes, we're also talking about the whole administrative process that is really sometimes a real burden in opening this process. So the need for feasible import regulations or localized production, but also the need for harmonization of technical requirements in order to contribute to the volume that is needed for, let's say, imports in new and different countries. So based on these needs for flexible regulations and harmonizations for technical requirements, we see a clear need for a conference at Busworld 2024 between international suppliers, focusing this time on Indian suppliers, international suppliers, Indonesian bodybuilders, and the Ministry of Transport and other ministries in Indonesia to talk about what is needed, what can be supplied, and how can the regulations contribute to a more flexible business doing there. That is the mission for Busworld that we have retained thanks to your input. So thank you very much again for your enthusiasm. Thanks for your knowledge. And I very much look forward to see you all in Jakarta in May. Thank you, Sridhar.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you, everybody. Have a great time and thank you for sparing your time. Many thanks to the audience as well. See you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Terima kasih, Pak Pur.
Ini saya ingin memberikan gambaran atau bagaimana sih tantangan
and be prepared for the next major exhibition.